Welcome to the Pretty Sister Podcast. I'm your host, Callie Stoyer. I'm so happy you're here in a place where you can feel welcomed and beautiful and the wonderful, beautiful person that you are. So thank you for being here. I have a very special guest with me today. This is my beautiful niece, Callie Linder.
Hello.
So happy that you're here. So happy
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So happy to introduce her all to you and share her with you. She is somebody who was an original pretty little sister.
Yes, born and
Yes,
raised.
growing
Born and
up
raised.
with all of our fun pretty sister traditions, which I'm going to ask you what you remember from that. Is
Yes.
there anything that comes to mind when you were growing
Yes.
up?
The biggest thing that I remember is we had um little jars of glitter, which I have now been informed it's fairy dust,
Yeah, yes, it
right?
is. I actually have
Okay.
some on the shelf behind us of
Oh my
fairy dust. I know. You never know when
Oh
you
my
need
gosh,
fairy dust
you
around.
need that. Everyone needs
It's
it.
magical and makes your dreams come
Yes,
true.
it
Yes.
does. It does. Um, yeah, we would sprinkle it in our hair, like around us. And then we always had matching PJs too, pink silk gowns. And then we would do a pledge. And like a crowning almost, which my
Yes.
Aunt Callie was the one who would do that. So,
So much
yeah.
fun. Yeah, you're remembering our Pretty Sister sleepover parties. That's when you'd have the pajamas and
Yes.
the different fun
Yes.
things.
Love sleepover
So
parties.
fun. One of the things that you girls, so the pledge and the crowning ritual, all of that, my sisters and I developed and incorporated into our fun way of raising you girls. But you girls created a new addition to the Pretty Sisters. I don't know if you remember, but it was the Pretty Sister
Yes.
Pinky Promise that you girls started.
Yes. Which the Pretty Sister Pinky Promise, you guys, if you break a Pretty Sister Pinky Promise, there's just some bad karma coming for you. You just don't. You don't. You really don't.
Yes,
So,
that meant that things were getting real. It was serious
yes.
if you made a Pretty Sister
Yes.
Pinky Promise.
Yeah. I mean, I would like say something to my little sister Caitlin, who's also another pretty sister. She'd be telling me something and I'd be like, "Well, do you Pretty Sister Pinky promise?" And then she'd be like,
No.
"No." I'm like, "I caught you. I caught you." So,
Oh,
yeah, it's
I
so
love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
So we had so much fun growing up. And, this is all about friendship and sisterhood.
hmm
So I want to ask you, as you were growing up and navigating life with friends, was this helpful to you? Did you learn how to be better friend as a pretty sister?
Yeah, definitely. I think it started out with my cousins. We're girl heavy. We are
Mhm.
matriarch driven on both sides of my families.
And very
And
close.
and very close.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I have so many cousins that are girls that are around my age and so I think that that's like where friendship stemmed and where I was taught,
Hmm.
right? But it definitely spread into, my friends at school. And even growing up, I had a situation where both of my parents were sick and in the hospital, and I had a lot of friends during that time. Either it was my dad's friends, my mom's friends, or mine show up for me in a big way. And so I learned from a very young age that you need to be able to rely on your friends and
Hmm.
community as well. So,
Yeah, I love that. It's, and you did have some really difficult things to navigate as a
mhm.
child, but you didn't have to do it alone. You had friends
No,
and people show
no.
up to support you,
Yeah,
and that is a beautiful thing and so important for you to realize as you develop the community of people surrounding you that you allow people to help you, that you receive help, and it's part of the connection that we all crave and need as human beings is to be connected to one another. And when we do that,
absolutely.
there's so many beautiful gifts that come from that connection as we receive it and we give it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so Kelly, you went through some challenges. And this is one of the reasons why I brought her on to talk about this, because you're bold and it's beautiful the way that you are open about talking about some of the challenges that you've gone through and have come through. We'll just say, we'll give the end before we get to it, that she's come through it beautifully. I mean, you can see that and hear that she's doing so well, and
Thank
you're
you.
really, truly thriving in life, but you weren't thriving in life years ago. And you went through
No.
some depression
Hmm.
and some anxiety, which is, plaguing a lot of our world right now. It's kind of a mental health crisis that we're having with
Yeah.
this. That so it's touching. I'm sure most of you listening it's touched you in your own life in some way with family, friends, and whatnot. So I think it's important to talk about.
I absolutely agree.
And then thank you for coming on and being willing to share. So
Yeah.
when did that start for you? Let's go back to kind of
Well,
the beginning
when
and
when
talk
it
about this journey.
started, ultimately I was 14 years old when I was diagnosed with depression. I I I kind of hate that because if the doctor would have looked at my home life
Mm-hmm.
and had seen, what was going on and the
Mm-hmm.
illness that was
Mm-hmm.
in that home, I probably wouldn't have been diagnosed with
Yeah.
depression, but I was put on antidepressants at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't think I truly experienced what or how deep depression actually is until I had gone to college and I was experiencing a lot of change. I was living away from my family. I was, making a whole new group of friends. Um, and that's when it kind of came a little bit more into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I truly had to navigate myself through.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, and that was a lot of change that was going on and new experiences.
absolutely.
And something that I think that comes to mind here is the phrase that feelings buried alive never die. Would
Yes.
you say during that time, as you were going through this, that you were burying your feelings and your emotions and not
Yeah.
really dealing with things the
Yeah.
way you now know how to deal with your emotions?
Absolutely. I mean, I have always been a very bubbly person,
Mm-hmm.
very loud, very outgoing, happy, laughing. I can make people dance and sing and smile. Like that just was
She's so
me.
fun to be around.
Thank you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I got to college and then I started feeling some emptiness and darkness inside, and I was trying really hard to still portray that self of me.
Uh-huh.
Um, that, happy-go-lucky girl. I wanted people to view me
Yeah.
that way. And so yeah, I definitely was starting to shove things down to act a certain way. And because of that, it just like boiled up and it exploded into just more than I thought I would have been able to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and later down the road, I ended up being diagnosed with panic disorder, and that was something really hard that I had to learn and navigate through, something that completely changed me. Um, but now I've learned how to, I wouldn't necessarily say control the panic attacks because you can't. Ultimately, it will come and you need to be able to honor those feelings and emotions that come with that. But I have learned how to kind of get a little bit of a better grip on it so that
Mm-hmm.
I don't lose myself completely.
Yes. Well, I remember that stage of life where those were coming on, and I,
Hmm.
was around you when you had some. I know my daughter Taylor, who's a close cousin and friend of yours, helped you through that. You had to learn how to even teach people how to help you, right? I mean, let's talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
There were some steps that you had to do to get through those panic attacks,
Hmm.
and your loved ones that you confided in
Right.
learned how to help you to breathe, or
Hmm.
you had a heavy blanket
Yes.
that
Raven blankets.
that would help you to feel more grounded.
Yes, I would have people lay on top of me. It compresses the nervous system with that extra added weight, especially on the chest. And so yeah, I mean there were a whole list. I still have it on my phone. I have the entire list of things to do when people start to notice it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they can if you were to look at me before I have a panic attack, you could tell that I'm about to have one.
Hmm.
Because my eyes will just go dark and my body kind of like slugs a little bit and people can tell. And so there is ways and I've been able to entrust it with people such as my
Hmm.
cousin Taylor, your
Hmm.
daughter, um, and Chase even.
Hmm.
I think I've shared with Chase a little bit on how to help me. But it took me years.
Yes.
It took me a really long time.
Well, and now that you've come through on the other side of this,
Hmm.
they're far less, right?
Yes, I have the last one I haven't had in a very long time.
Hmm. And so there's been several things that you've done to get healthy.
Yes.
What are they? I mean, I know, but let's talk about and share with the audience
Yeah,
because it's been
well,
such a beautiful thing to watch.
yeah, ultimately, I needed to address my physical health first. I had really just crashed with that with my personal hygiene. I wasn't taking care of myself that way. And I think that a lot of it has to do with because at that time, I believed that I wasn't worthy of that care or that love of anyone to give it to me, but especially myself.
Hmm.
I also just didn't have the energy to get up and brush my teeth or wash my hair or even, make my bed. Like I couldn't do any of it.
Can I just say, that's
Yeah,
such a critical thing that you said that you didn't believe that you were worthy. And I want to just take a minute and say to anybody who's listening that you are worthy, that you
absolutely.
are of worth. And it's tempting to think that way
It
especially
is.
when you've spiraled into depression and you're having these feelings. But I think that the fact that you grasp your worth at your
Mm-hmm.
lowest point and started to pull yourself out, that was a turning point for you. And
Yes.
so you
Yes.
have to know how worthy you are, that there's nothing that can diminish that worth of yours. And you just have it. It
Mm-hmm.
it is. And so if you can cling to that and then learn to then love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to be able to pull out of it, which I think is part of what you had to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started, slowly, introducing, I mean, at the time when it was really bad and I was pulling myself out, it was just small things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Okay, let's go hang out with a friend today. Or maybe even just call a friend and talk to them,
Yeah.
you know? Or maybe let's go outside for a walk. It doesn't have to be a really long time, but let's just get outside of bed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it started really, really small with those. And then slowly it was a snowball effect. And I found myself like, okay, let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go grocery shopping. Let's do meal prep. Let's plan social events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but those were big things. Those are big things.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who is experiencing depression, to get yourself to that point, it takes a long time. And it took me about 3 years to really start enforcing those bigger habits. And now they are like complete habits and I just do it. I wake up, I go
It's
to the
easy
gym,
now.
I eat healthy, I listen to good uplifting music. I mean, now, yes,
Now it
it's
just feels like
easier.
piece of cake. This is
Yes.
just how
But back then, it was the end of the world
it's a mountain to
to
climb.
do. Yes, it was like, oh my
Any one
gosh, I
of these
can't do
little
that.
decisions.
Yeah.
So it's important to note and to just say that depression is a disease
Oh, absolutely.
and
It is
it's
an
real,
illness.
and you had to seek help in many different ways. Part of that was
Mm-hmm.
professional help
Mm-hmm.
in medicine
Yes.
and therapists.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was a multifaceted approach
Mm-hmm.
to doing that, but you had to have the desire.
Yeah, definitely. I I mean, you kind of will reach a point in your life um where you'll want to call upon change, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
When you was
Yeah.
like, this is not working.
Yeah. There's one of my favorite songs. It's called Life is Life. And in one of the lyrics it says that he looked at himself and he didn't love what he saw, so he went to go make change. And I think that that's kind of what had happened is I got down to that point. I got to the bottom and I looked around and I didn't like what my life was like. And that's when I took back control and I took back my power.
Mm-hmm. And you did that in many ways in the form of seeing who you wanted to be, right? You created a
Yes.
vision of this beautiful self
Yes.
that you wanted to become. And you began a relationship with her, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
This future self that you
Absolutely.
projected
Mm-hmm.
and manifested. Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Yeah, well, so basically, manifestation is just think of it as a fancy prayer, okay? Or even like a prayer to God or a prayer to your higher self. In this case scenario, it was a prayer to my higher self, my future self of the woman that I wanted to be. And I had to really tap into her. And I would meditate, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I would lay in my bed and I would dream. I would dream about
One of my
her.
favorite words.
Yes, yes, dream. Yeah, but it's true. I would dream about her. I would literally envision what she would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the her habits that she had, her daily habits that made her her, her friends, her music, her food, every single thing. I dreamed of it and I envisioned it first. And then I would
She's the kind of girl you want to hang out with.
Yes, she's so cool.
So
My
cool.
future self is so cool.
And you
And
guys, she's sitting here right now today. I will say that really cool girl.
I am now my future self.
Actually, you were always there, Kelly.
Yes.
You were inside, I would say, just a little bit locked up and stuck. And you freed
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
You freed that girl. And
No,
now
absolutely.
you're glowing and shining from the inside out as that
Mhm.
beautiful little girl that you always have been and always were. You've just
Thank
completely
you.
freed her. It's a beautiful thing. Okay.
Yes. But yeah, basically I specifically it was the habits that got me there. But I would start doing those habits and it takes a long time to develop a habit to be in your daily life, but I would do that. And slowly over time I started seeing change and I liked the change that I was seeing. And so I just kept going. And I told myself during this whole transformation just keep going just to see what happens.
What can I do? Kind of a
Yeah,
challenge.
like I just want to see. We can get there and we can decide that we want something else, but let's just see what happens. And then eventually one day, if you continue with those habits and those dreams and envisioning your higher self and your future self, you will wake up as her. And I feel as though I definitely have woken up
Mm-hmm.
as her.
You have, and part of your awakening has been on all levels, like spiritual, intellectual, physical, all of these, emotional, all of these parts of you have changed.
Hmm.
One of the things that you chose to do was yoga.
Yes,
You
yes.
went to school to become a certified yoga instructor,
Hmm.
which was a big blessing to me because I got to spend the summer with her sunrise yoga classes that she was leading. It was
Yes,
such
on
a
the tennis
delight.
court.
Yes, it was so fun, and so as you made those changes and you grew, you just brought others along with you. I got to be one of those people, so thank you
Yes.
for that.
Yes, of course.
But
Absolutely.
yoga's been a big part of this transformation, teaching
Hmm.
you how to breathe, how to meditate, how to,
Hmm.
again, love your body, listen to your body.
Hmm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I found yoga um a little bit into my self-help journey. I had a friend introduce it to me and they were like, just try it. I think that you could really enjoy this. I did one class and I loved it. And then after that class, I signed on for a year-long membership.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was from there that it ended up just like snowballing into this most beautiful thing that I ever could have happened to me. Um, but yoga teaches you how to get out of the mind and into the body. And for anyone who has, experienced any mental challenges, they understand that the mind cannot be trusted,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the body that keeps the score. Fantastic book for
Mm-hmm.
anyone
It
who
is a
needs
great
to
one.
read it. Yes. Um, but ultimately, yoga teaches about how to take an easy seat. And the translation for that is asana, which is Sanskrit. It is the language for yoga. It's a dead language. But asana means to take an easy seat. And so for physical practices, we can be holding a high plank, which requires all of the muscles
A
in the
lot of
body, a
strength.
lot of strength, holding it, and the the yoga teachers will be like, now breathe. And you're like,
Oh,
I
sure.
can't. Yeah, like, okay, I guess, you know. But it teaches us how can we take an easy seat in this difficult position that we are in. And you can translate that to life as well. Whatever trials or challenges you may be going through and facing, notice it, acknowledge it, give
Mhm.
it the attention that it deserves and needs, and then take an easy seat and learn how to breathe and exist in this difficult time. And so, one thing that my yoga teacher, who I got my training from, tells me
Mhm.
is she's phenomenal. She has been diagnosed with cancer twice.
Mhm.
It's non-treatable, and what she tells me and would teach us is she says it's amazing. She says it's just like this now. You know,
Mhm.
that's just how it is. This is just how it is. So you have to deal with it, almost basically. So I kind of love it.
There's the lack of resistance, there's an acceptance.
Hmm.
And when we can be in that kind of flow and just it is what it is.
Yeah, like
And
this
so
is just how it is now.
you're not mad about it, you're
No.
not resentful, carrying
Hmm.
resentment, you're not blaming, you're not a victim to it, you're just this is what it is. And so then you
Absolutely.
rise to the challenge and you figure your way through. I love that.
Absolutely.
And I love this concept of an easy seat because we can, oftentimes people think that when life gets hard, you want to surrender to it. You want to just, have so many different emotions to that.
Right.
But the sooner we do accept that life is hard and it can be hard, and that the hard actually we can embrace, that we
Hmm.
can learn from it, there's gifts from it, that we can rise to it, it's what's going to make us stronger.
Hmm.
All of those thoughts, I think, are more empowering to help us get to the other side, having learned. Because I wouldn't even say with you, you probably don't regret the experiences you've had because it's made you into this beautiful, happy, thriving person that you are now
Hmm.
with all these
Yeah.
gifts and gifts of empathy and understanding as you've now wanted to share your experience talking about dealing with depression, anxiety, and overcoming it. And
Hmm.
I can't imagine you not having gone through that.
Yeah.
But I love that this easy seat, even though it's hard, that there can be a way that we can move through it with grace and ease.
Absolutely.
And I believe that we pretty sisters, through friendship, through sisterhood, can be that easy seat for others.
Yes,
You
that
know,
support. Yeah.
yes, that we need each other, that we don't have to go through life and experiences completely alone. We're actually
Hmm.
never alone, whether
Yeah.
it's friends, sisters, family, or our higher power. We truly never are alone. And just the idea and thought that you are is something that people do feel in those moments of hopelessness, in those moments of depression. You probably felt a lot of aloneness when you really
Absolutely.
weren't, but it's like an illusion that you put on yourself.
Hmm.
And the sooner you can realize that that's just not true,
Yeah.
and that there are people there to support you and you can grasp for something, you can find that easy seat
Hmm.
and get through it, then you start to make the change in
Hmm.
moving forward.
Yeah, people will show up for you if you give them the chance to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The one thing you've told me before that you had to learn the hard way is when you were in your depths of despair, you wanted one of your cousins to fix it for you or to
Yes.
help you.
Yes.
And
Oh my gosh.
she
She
said
was so
something important to you. She what was it that she said exactly that was pivotal?
basically, I was just struggling and having a hard time, and I had, out of a cry for help, was like, why don't you see me? Why don't you see me hurting? Why aren't you like helping me? And she had said, well, Kelly, it's not my job to come and save you. And at the time, it was like I had just been hit with a bag of bricks. And I went into my room and I cried and I was like, why can't she save me? And then it wasn't until 2 years later that I understood, like, oh, truly, she actually can't. I have to be the one to do the work.
Mhm.
I have to deep dive into myself. I have to learn about myself. I have to study myself, which is also one of the practices that we do for yoga, is to study yourself. Um, and I have to be the one to do it. you
You
know?
mean nobody can make this all better for you?
No, no,
I mean,
people can
can't we
show
blink
up
or
and
snap or something and make it all go away?
no, I wish. But I mean, people can show up and they can offer love and support,
Mhm.
but ultimately in times like that for depression and um anxiety, you have to be the one to show up for yourself every single day, constantly.
I love, as hard as that can be, and I know that was a dose of, some tough love and medicine for you that you
Yeah.
didn't really want, some bitter medicine at the time. Um, but the fact that you grasp that now and that
Hmm.
you're showing up fully responsible for your life
Yeah.
is part of this transformation, and what's making you so attractive and so happy is that you are in complete responsibility.
Hmm.
You're thriving because you are making all these choices day by
Hmm.
day, in and out, to show up for yourself, to love yourself, to be the brilliant light that you are.
Well, and I love that you said the word attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Because who I am now, I consider myself to be very magnetic.
Yes, you
I
are.
absolutely do. And it's because of who I am. I mean, you are what you attract,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you can also learn how to become magnetic in your life right now as well and possess certain qualities in yourself that you want. And then in return, the universe, God, once again, whatever your higher power is, will bring it into your life. You will attract what you want to attract. Whatever you want wants you just as
Yes.
much as you want it.
Which is why dreaming is so important and
Yes.
visualizing what you want, because you have to first do that before you can attract anything.
Hmm.
And I think that this concept of being attractive, especially as I've seen this with you in your transformation, it's something that's coming from the inside out.
Hmm.
And you do look beautiful, but
Thank you.
you of course you do, but that's, you feel beautiful, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
what's the difference, is
Yes.
that you're feeling it, and before you didn't feel that, you didn't
Yeah.
feel worthy, you didn't feel good enough, you had all these dark feelings.
Hmm.
And so therefore that's how you, even I could, I mean, you were beautiful then, but
Hmm.
there's such a fundamental change when you feel beautiful.
Oh, I agree. I think it all has to do with your aura and your
Mm-hmm.
energy levels as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're so down and in your mind and just hurting, that will show up in how you present yourself in
Yes.
a room. It's just true. Versus if you are very energetic and happy and magnetic inside, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, your aura will be bright and big and attract so much abundance into your life.
And then as you show up that way for other people, then they're now reciprocating that back to you. So probably
Hmm.
some of the things that you really wanted during your darkest time, maybe friendship and people helping you, you were that was, you were pushing that away. It's like,
Hmm.
I want it, but I don't, because of the way that your energy was and that you
Yes.
were feeling about yourself.
Yeah.
But now that you are loving yourself, you have to first love yourself before you can love others, and
Hmm.
then they can reciprocate that back.
Absolutely. I agree.
Because when you say now, in your friendships and your relationships, everything is just feeling healthier and happier
Yeah,
now.
I definitely feel more in control
Mm-hmm.
is probably a great word to say it. And I've done the work. I've done years and years of therapy. I've been in therapy since I was a kid. We had a family therapist. She was phenomenal. But yeah, I think the more that I became self-aware of myself through through yoga, through my mental health struggles, and even through friendships, because relationships can hold a mirror up to you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Um, Oftentimes when there is, some heads butting, it's like, okay, but what do I need to address within
Mm-hmm.
myself
Mm-hmm.
to
Rather than blaming others for it.
exactly, exactly. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Now you have a favorite mantra.
I do have a
What
favorite
will
mantra.
you share that with us? 'Cause I love
Yes,
it.
yes, I will. I actually got it from one of my favorite songs. It's called At the Table by Josh Garrels, and I kind of just took it and made it mine. But I say it to all of my friends. I say it to my family. I say it's on my Instagram bio. I live my life by this. And it just means, or the mantra is,
Mhm.
there is always a seat for you at my table. And
Beautiful.
I live by that, right? I mean, I have a lot of friends who are abroad, or even just away working, or maybe friends that, maybe didn't work out in that certain lifetime or timeline. Um, but I do try and save a seat for everyone, for
Mhm.
all walks of life, for all colors, nationalities, religions, everything. There's always a seat at my table for you. There's room for everyone,
I
right?
love that because it's a problem. First of all, let me just say, not everyone thinks that way, Kelly,
Which is so sad.
which is so
It's so
sad.
sad.
And I'm so happy that you do because exclusivity and clickiness, I mean, that is such a topic of concern for friendship and for women.
Hmm.
And people feel left out all of the time. But my philosophy has always been, so as an original pretty sister, I'm so glad that you know this and believe this, is that the more the merrier. Let's have a
Yes.
party and everybody's invited. Let's not
Hmm.
exclude anyone. Let's make sure,
Everyone's
yes,
invited.
let's make sure
Yes.
that everybody feels loved and accepted. And so I love that that's a motto that you've adopted and that's something that you want to
Thank
embrace
you.
because it is so important. And I would say to listeners, to women, if you're not doing that, if you're not being thoughtful of others and how it feels to them when you are being exclusive, maybe think about it
Yeah.
because um, you can probably think of a time in life when you felt left out and how that felt, and it doesn't feel good.
No.
And especially now with social media the way it is and the way we can portray our lives and unknowingly we can people can feel left out and people can be hurt.
Hmm.
And we do have to live our life and not everybody can be invited to everything, but I think the more we can set the intention,
Hmm.
to just be inclusive and to be mindful and accepting and have this concept of everyone has a seat at my table.
Hmm.
If we feel that way, then I think people will feel that love and acceptance back, just that whole mirror
Absolutely.
concept that what we're putting out there is what's getting mirrored back to us. So that's a beautiful invitation.
Thank you.
I do love that.
Thank
Now,
you.
before our time's coming to an end, but before we do end, what kind of dreams are ahead for you? Like what are you dreaming up next now that you are, just hanging out every day with your best self?
Yes, I know, right? My future self. Well, for starters, I have become my future self of the girl that I've been dreaming of for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So next step is tapping into the woman that I want to be in the next 5 years.
Okay. I love this future
Um,
planning. That's so
yes,
important to
yeah,
always have that,
yes,
future plan.
absolutely. But ultimately, my end goal is to open up my own wellness studio.
I love
So
that.
once again, a place for everyone. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is invited. And it's going to be a place for people to feel rest.
Uh-huh.
Because life gets really busy.
Yes.
And oftentimes we don't take care of ourselves. So it'll be a place where people can be taken care of.
Don't we all need that?
Yeah.
Well, and you will be the perfect person to do it because, we forgot to even mention that on this whole journey you've been through, you got your esthetician's
Hmm.
license, your
My
Reiki,
Reiki
energy
yes.
work.
My
You said
yoga
you've gotten your yoga
training.
training.
Hmm.
You've delved, I know you're in the gym all the time now and you've gotten so healthy and into wellness. So you've learned so much, which again is just, we can't run away from our challenges because they're teaching us so many gifts.
Hmm.
You've become all of this because of what you've gone through.
Absolutely. It definitely has molded me
Mm-hmm.
and shaped me into who I am now.
Yeah.
So I would do it again,
You would.
unfortunately. To say
Well, isn't
it.
that how it always is? Sometimes we want to trade places with someone else, but at the end of the day, if everyone were really to look at their set of challenges, I think we'd all take back, our own
Absolutely.
because it's what we're most comfortable with, but also it is, again, designed specifically for us to help us to become who we are. So we want to embrace them and know that as there's always going to be a silver lining, there's always going to be something to learn and to grow and to get to on the other side becoming who we are. So Callie, thank you so much again for sharing a little bit with us and being vulnerable. And I know that it's your hope to help other women and girls who are going through depression, anxiety to know that they can have that they can do it. Yeah. They can get through it and that there's always hope. And you've been so resilient and so beautiful.
Thank you.
Such a pretty sister.
I have amazing pretty sisters to rely on and to look up to. So,
well, and that is our message to you, that you are a pretty sister, that you are part of a community. And I'm so glad that you're here listening with us today. So stay pretty, stay happy, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.